Are you a real estate investor looking to start your first flip? Are you a passive investor looking for the next opportunity? Regardless of your situation, our mission is to help everyone work towards their unique version of financial freedom. Hello, and welcome back to the third episode of the Conduit Capital podcast. Is due diligence really that important? Today, we're going to talk a little bit about our due diligence process, and hopefully that will inspire some of you to maybe update your due diligence process or think about different things when you have someone approach you with a deal. In Conduit Capital, we have borrowers coming to us all the time submitting loan applications. And since one of our core values is stewardship, we want to make sure that we're being good stewards with the money trusted to us. So we make sure to vet these loan applications like they were deals that we were buying ourselves. Before I get into an example scope of work today, I want to talk about our question of the day, which is, what tools do you use for your due diligence? We have a process for us that works really well, but we're always looking for new ways to learn more about the deals that we're investing in. So I would love to hear from all of you in the comments some different things that you're doing that you've seen success in, and maybe we'll be able to adopt those ourselves, and hopefully we'll be able to give all of you listeners some insight into how we conduct our own due diligence. So as you'll see beside me, I have an example of a scope of work that a borrower sent us for a property that we recently got paid back on. Now, when you're first looking at this scope of work, the first thing that came to my mind was that it's very simple. That's by no means a bad thing. We like to see that our borrowers take the time to put things into a spreadsheet so that it's easy to understand, but we also don't require from them to provide these big elaborate spreadsheets with formulas and things like that. But I do like to see that they take the time to look at all of these different aspects of the house and what things the property will need throughout the rehab process. So the first thing I look at, besides just the general appeal of the spreadsheet, is, do they have correct pricing for all of these repairs? So if we read through this scope of work, we see that they have downspout extensions. Looks like they have some ceiling leaks to repair. They're going to put some money into lighting and electric, window screens, interior doors and closet doors, as well as exterior doors. They are updating a bath and shower, as well as a bathroom vanity and the bathroom floor. Cabinets, trim. Looks like there are some structural issues with this house. A water softener, a driveway, and then also just general expenses for cleaning and inspection. Now you can see they have an estimated repairs of around 17 grand and a total budget of 19.5 grand. Now, clearly there's some room for error in this scope of work. It looks like they have a little bit of extra funds dedicated to incidentals that pop up, which I do like to see, because one thing, if you have experience in real estate, you'll know that if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. And there are usually always extras that pop up. So vetting a deal, I always like to see that the borrower has some money set aside for incidentals. However, I would like to see a majority of our deals have most of the line items covered in the initial scope of work. I don't like to see a huge part of the budget set aside for incidentals. We really do like to see that the borrowers have a clear purpose for the funds that they're receiving from us. Now, the second part, or the second portion of this, I want to ask myself the question, does the house actually need all of this? Is everything the borrower is asking for actually necessary to complete this rehab and add the necessary value to this property when they resell it, or if they decide to keep it as a rental? Now, this is done by the borrower submitting detailed pictures or even having someone from our team walk through the property. We also accept inspections if the borrower has an inspection. That way we're able to get a nice presentation from a third party that shows everything that the house will need. We want to see every room. We want to see the basement, the outside, the roof. That way we're able to get a clear picture of what the house looks like. And that way we're able to almost match up like a puzzle what the borrower sees in the property and what they plan on doing to it. So, for instance, this borrower is planning on installing interior doors, closet doors, and exterior doors. So when they submit pictures to us, I want to see pictures of all the doors. And in this case, they probably either don't have doors on inside most of the house, or they're severely beaten up. And that's same with the bathroom. It looks like they plan to redo the bathroom in this house. So with installing a new vanity and a floor and a bath and shower, I want to make sure that the bathroom currently needs all of that. Now, the next question I ask myself is the borrower missing anything? And I would say that this question probably comes with a little more experience in vetting deals in real estate. However, there are some main parts of rehabbing a property that, at least in our area in Northwest Indiana, a lot of the properties tend to need. For instance, in this scope of work, the borrower doesn't mention anything about the roof. Now, in Northwest Indiana, especially in Gary, where this property was located, a lot of the houses are old and run down. And I would say probably in 80% of the rehab budgets that are submitted to me, the property needs a new roof. Now, this borrower didn't include anything saying that it needed a new roof. So I would reference back to the pictures that the borrower sent us and see, okay, what does the roof look like? Did the borrower buy this property from the owner directly, and maybe the owner recently put a new roof on it, or was it a genuine oversight? As the lender on any sort of loan, you don't want to just be the source of money for the borrower. You want to be an additional resource, an additional set of eyes that are looking at the deal. That way, maybe you're able to catch something that the borrower missed, and you could potentially be that stopping point that stops them from taking on a bad deal. Obviously, if the borrower takes on a bad deal and ends up struggling and their profit suffers, then potentially your profit as a lender could suffer also. That also really helps with the relationship of the borrower. If you can show them that you're on their side and you genuinely want them to succeed and make money, then that can just make the relationship so much more, it can make the relationship so much more beneficial to both sides. Now, another question I would want to ask this borrower is, who is completing this rehab? Uh, the people who submit us loan applications could be full-time real estate investors with a background as a contractor. So maybe they plan on doing this work themselves. Maybe they plan on hiring a third-party construction crew, or maybe they have a family member or friend that is a contractor or has experience in rehabs and they want to use them. Whatever the case, it's important to at least make a note of this for your records as a private lender. I wouldn't say that any of these are particularly better than another. However, it's always important to be skeptical of the contractor that your borrower is using, just because so many different things can happen. And I know I've had some horror stories of contractors running away with rehab funds, and I'm sure we'll have a whole nother episode about what that looks like and our experiences with that. But this is a very important piece. You want to make sure that you know who your borrower is using, and you want to make sure that your borrower has confidence in their contractor, or at least has done research. So you know that they've looked into it and they're not just using the first person that popped up on their Google search. And one final question that I think is important to ask, or at least to discuss with your borrower, is, will you be requiring construction draws? So when borrowers submit loans to us, they have a proposed rehab budget. So in this case, the proposed rehab budget was around 20 grand. If this borrower was not very experienced, I would want to set up construction draws so that I could control the outflow of money to the borrower. That way, if they get, let's say, 2 draws of about 10 grand apiece, they would get their first draw of 10 grand at closing. They would use that 10 grand to maybe get half of this list of items completed. And then once the list of items completed, they would simply reach out to me and request the additional draw for the remainder of the rehab budget. Now, when they request that additional draw, it's important to see what progress has been done on the property already. So if they completed the first half of these line items, I want them to submit to me pictures showing all of the things that were done. So I want to see that the ceiling leaks were repaired, that they put a brand new front door on the property, that they installed carpet throughout the house, smoke detectors, and I want to see that they got painting done. If they can show me that those things were completed and that the project is on track, then that's more than I could ask for. Then I know that, okay, they are getting work done, the project is on track, so I can release the remainder of the rehab funds to the borrower, and then they're good to go. If you're not operating out of a fund, another strategy that could be potentially helpful is to use the title company to hold the funds in escrow for you. Not all title companies will do this, but it's always helpful to ask the question because they are a trusted third party. And I've found in my experience doing this that communication with them is relatively easy and minimal documents need to be signed to release that draw to the borrower. So this has been a very broad look into our due diligence process, specifically regarding scopes of work. In future episodes, we'll cover the other various nuances of our due diligence process, such as comps or looking into the borrower's background specifically, which I'm really excited to cover in the future. Just to repeat the question of the day, I would love to hear from all of our listeners in the comment section, different strategies and tools that you use to conduct your due diligence to see if there's anything we need to take into account, or maybe if you learned anything about our due diligence process that struck a chord with you, we'd love to hear that as well. Also, don't forget to follow us on all of our social media, leave comments on our YouTube and Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well if you're interested in seeing more of our videos. With that, thank you for listening today, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast today. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to stay up to date with all of our latest content, please follow us on social media. You can find us on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram at Conduit Capital Podcast. We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to send us a message, leave a comment, or share your thoughts with us.